I really enjoyed Drive My Car the first time I saw it in 2022, and I continue to enjoy it to this day. It expands on the original story in ways that, in my opinion, strengthen it overall. If you've read the Murakami anthology that Drive My Car comes from, Men Without Women, you'll recognize that there are pulls from Scheherazade and Kino as well. It won the 2022 Academy Award for Best International Film, a BAFTA, Cannes Best Screenplay, Japan Academy Best Picture and Director of the Year, and Best Actor and Best Screenplay, a Golden Globe, and many more awards. It's such a strong end product that it caused me to wonder why there aren't more films based on short stories and novellas. Despite starting in short form, the film is still 3 hours. I love the photography. The landscapes in rural Hiroshima Prefecture in particular are stunning. Modern communication methods like email are integrated gracefully. The pacing is neither too fast or too slow. The underlying color and sharpness are awesome to behold. Now, at the risk of turning this into old man brain rot, I'm feeling strongly drawn to discussing the red Saab featured throughout the film and on the cover of the Criterion release. Against my worst judgment, I'll be placing a Saab 900 history lesson at the end of the film review. Beyond the aesthetics, the themes are good, and by good I mean interesting. Perhaps this message should have read the themes are interesting, but I don't feel that quite expresses my sentiment. I don't see these themes discussed often, yet they're interesting, and in my opinion, themes reoccur because they're fertile ground for good stories, character interactions, etc. I like the novelty of being introduced to new themes when the story still works out well. The principal characters, Kofuku Yusuke and Watari Misaki, are denied some pretty important personal resolutions. They've had to figure out how to move forward in their lives with large unanswerable questions in their heads. They're grieving, but they've had to live with that grief for a while. We get to experience the long-term effects of grief. I've seen plenty of actors render an intense emotional outburst on screen at the death of a loved one, or behaved in a totally reserved way, but I've seen far fewer examples of healing in the years that follow from grief. In a sense, Drive My Car is a story about enduring nearly impossible, nuanced social situations. This theme is shared with the Anton Chekov play Uncle Vanya, the play that Kofuku Yusuke directs. Believably, our characters don't always address the present issue at all. Sometimes they address them head on. Neither cause a very melodramatic external outcome, but you see these characters' senses of agency change. There was a strong international marketing push before release, one that included a long English co-marketing article published on the German cinema camera manufacturer Ari's blog that goes into some of the production details, though through the lens of Ari's many filmmaking products. Many of the production details I discuss come from this short piece. The editor was focused on delivering a pristine, sharp 2K or 1080p film master rather than a 4K one.
Fear is how I fall, confusing what is real.
They went with a slightly older cinema camera, the RE Alexa Mini, which maxes out at a native 2.8K. This camera has very modern performance otherwise, with wonderful dynamic range and color and flexible raw codecs. But films shot on it do have to be upscaled after the fact for 4K delivery. Despite the resolution deficit, the film looks impeccably sharp. I do really like the approach to the film as a deliverable. They used RE Zeiss Ultra Primes that deliver a pristinely sharp look. Any errors are imperceptible at the 2K target. The director of photography, Shinomiya Hidetoshi, shared that he liked how cool is in color temperature, not cool as in cool, and sharp they were in his previous projects. Similarly, he shot with the RE Mini because he liked its texture and reliability. He was familiar with these tools, and that familiarity allowed him to maintain the rigorous shooting pace directed by director Hamaguchi Ryusuke. These Alexa Minis apparently fit better in and on the compact Saab 900 than other cinema cameras. The lighting also certainly feels natural. Faces can clip at high noon, and people's figures can similarly go black when light floods in from a nearby window. According to lighting director Daiki Takai, they were very quick setups that would easily break down just outside the camera's frame. This trivia paints the picture of a film that was planned and executed to a T. It's nice to have some official English information on the film's production, but ultimately the creative decisions made here are the interesting part. The lingering exterior compositions, punchy color, natural performances, and unique concepts are the cool as in cool, not cool as in temperature part here. If I had to describe the composition in this film in one word, I'd call it geometric. Winding roads, diagonal stairs, a round fountain. Paths with perfectly straight lines, undisturbed by the pincushion or barrel distortion found in inferior optics. I do like the score, but while I played music growing up, I don't actually have much language for evaluating it. I tend to enjoy montages and the use of real songs. I really enjoyed the song in the outro. It's a very chill cafe jazz track. A central element of Drive My Car is Anton Chekhov's 1897 play Uncle Vanya. What do you know, this play from 1897 is also concerned with characters who endure deep interpersonal injustices. If you were interested, there's an English adaptation directed by by Gregory Mosher from 1990, available on the Shakespeare Network on YouTube. I will be spoiling it. Vanya, Ostrov, Helena, and well, really every character is depressed about being old or being beholden to the old. They're completely frozen, entirely unable to seize any opportunity out of fear or self-pity. You might find the bummer attitudes of these innervated characters enervating, but I found the play quite entertaining. The version I discuss is performed by a star-studded, compelling British cast, and the language is fairly easy to digest, especially when compared to Shakespearean plays. I imagine that's because its original Russian is less antiquated than Shakespearean English, and the English translation is even more contemporary. Really, the only word you might not be familiar with is samovar. This borrowed word seemingly popped out throughout Act 1 to remind me of the play's location. While you could go without knowing and comprehend all the important parts, a samovar is an elaborate tea kettle with a heating element in the base and a spigot for easy pouring. I don't know if this is the intention of Chekov, but Helena's thorough resignation to a long life of unhappiness and Vanya's impotence in Act 1 really cracked me up. For the most part, these characters sit around thinking all day, sharing what about themselves they feel sorry about. Sonya doesn't, but she's also the youngest character. Common thing that I've observed across Regency fiction is acting in the interest of others but never yourself. It is certainly present in Uncle Vanya. Sonya is arguably the only character who advocates for her own desires, however meekly, and to her stepmother, but because her desires are sent via the game of telephone, they are deeply misconstrued. Classic. Alexander is the family's thoughtless patriarch. He married into money, soaking up her estate and discarding the remains. His actions have destroyed the lives of the family around him, but his family found putting him on a pedestal very natural. He's confused by the resentments because they've never been communicated. The characters of Uncle Vanya operate under a set of convoluted and unpleasant circumstances, but they can't seem to come up with another way of living. Something that many have found notable about this particular play is that the characters are also concerned deeply with their descendants. They discuss the moral impacts of modern city life without daily labor. They discuss the ecological ramifications of the industries that support that modern life. I don't see this kind of long-term philosophical conversation often in the media I consume, and I was surprised to find all of what there was in this 128-year-old work. It doesn't feel preachy, and maybe that's just because I'm not overly familiar with the ecological and moral conversations of the day, but they felt like real personal concerns of a type of character, not an author's unnatural interruptions to pontificate. Sacrifice and adherence to Christian values are perhaps less unique in theme, but still discussed effectively. Suffering is seen by Sonya as proof of goodness, or at least evidence she should be pitiable to God and provided happiness in the next life. I enjoy that these characters attempt to negotiate a different system where they are not subjugated, but utterly fail to articulate what they want and go back to the way things were. In Drive My Car, they model a kind of theater where every performer speaks in their native tongue with subtitles projected overhead. During table reads, characters knock to indicate they're done with their line because everyone is reading in different languages. Lee Yuna, a character played by Park Yu-rim, delivers a particularly powerful theater performance in Korean Sign Language. Despite his comfort with multiple languages, Hamaguchi Ryusuke doesn't initially seem to have a sense of how to direct her, but he's impressed by her emotive capability, and things generally come together anyway. His directing style, though, is somewhat obtuse. When the young actors ask for greater insights into his goals, he just asks them to read the text again. Even the practice stage actors refer to this method as regurgitating the sutra, or Buddhist scripture. I get the sense that he may wish to penalize the brash young TV actor, Takatsuki Koji, and he's willing to take everyone along for the ride to hell. I know nothing of stage acting, and I personally enjoy the freedom to make my own decisions at work, so I, perhaps wrongly, found the style of management language appealing. His authority isn't just drawn from his experience as an actor and seat as a director. He's properly behaved and genuinely kind, even in conversation with people he has reason to dislike. In stark contrast, his driver, Wataru Misaki, played by Toko Miura, is often awkward. She's either steering off into space or too wrapped up in a singular task like eating to participate in conversation. She smokes a lot, and she likes dogs and paperbacks. The contrast between these two can be pretty funny, even though they don't ham up their performance. It's nice watching them be kind to one another. They're neither uncomfortably overfamiliar or standoffish. They're both carrying emotional weight, and they're lonely, but they treat each other well. You watch these essentially work acquaintances slowly and convincingly build rapport against the backdrop of Hiroshima's stark and modern coastal architecture. We don't get as deep with others, but it's fun to watch the actors develop closer ties in and out of exercises. Takatsuki and Kafuku share more words and more tension for a number of reasons I don't want to spoil. Despite that, Kafuku is still fairly honest and forthcoming. He handles these interactions with respectable dignity. If this tension became verbally or physically abusive, I'd understand because that's how tension between men resolves in a lot of stories, but by making a different creative decision, it allows their interactions to get deeper, weirder, and more interesting before they conclude. We witnessed the last scene of Uncle Vanya, and as she was during the table reads, Park Yu-rim is a standout. The sign completely changes the pace of the monologue from the spoken play, and it's extremely emotive. I would love to watch this cast perform the whole play. In an epilogue so divorced from the main story I'm not spoiling anything, Wataru shops in a Korean supermarket before walking into a sea of Hyundai Nexos. She approaches the red Saab 900 with a cute dog dog in it, and a very pleasant, almost musical jazz song plays as she drives into the distant powdery blue horizon very common around Seoul. She seems happy for the first time in the whole film, and I've been watching it for nearly 3 hours at this point. That was enough to keep me from asking for more information. I think I love Drive My Car so much because it's about people attempting to address the complicated problems in their lives in a mature way. It maintains a unique, thoughtful voice throughout. It's shot and edited impeccably, with a wonderful color treatment, strong score, and acting. Thank you for watching my review of the Drive My Car film, Play Uncle Vanya, and Drive My Car short story. I didn't review the story, and I haven't read the story recently. Thank you for watching my review of Drive My Car and Uncle Vanya. If you enjoyed it, please like it, consider subscribing to the channel, and check out my most recent photography essay if you're into that kind of thing. Okay, now, old man brain rot, we're getting to the Saab 900. Saab 900s were these smaller Swedish sedans and coupes that were in production for 16 years, starting in 1978. They were front-wheel drive, premium but not luxury, quick handling, safe, and sometimes turbo cars that were fun to drive. They were well received by critics and the general public, but eventually became the victim of an industry consolidation and age. They were a great value at launch, but they couldn't really compete against commodity manufacturers who were quicker to adopt new technologies. So by the 80s and 90s, Volkswagen and Honda were making very similar cars for less money. Saab really designed and engineered fewer cars than you'd expect for a company that was around for 71 years. General Motors, the large American car firm famous for platform sharing, did help Saab develop models more quickly, but in doing so, they also lost the appeal of being a unique national product of Sweden. The brand wasn't selling very well, so GM sold it to Spyker while continuing to behave as a supplier. Then Spyker and Saab went bankrupt, stopped paying their bills, and ceased production. This tied up Saab IP in US courts. A new Swedish company called NEVS attempted to buy the brand and material with capital from a Chinese investor. Then NEVS was purchased by Evergrande and later closed during the 2023 Chinese real estate crunch. There seems to be another Swedish national loan-backed effort to produce Saab-related vehicles, but considering all the IP messiness, I have no idea if that will ever happen. If you'd like a deeper dive on the Saab 900 driving experience and contemporary opinion, I recommend watching this Revelations episode from Jason Camisa. This is all to say, Saab 900s are weird sentimental cars for sentimental weirdos. Prior to reading the Murakami anthology Men Without Women or watching Drive My Car, the prominence of the Saab 900 in marketing told me that Hamaguchi Ryusuke was a troubled man. To borrow a common framework from, but not the language of, Brian and Nick's regular car reviews, owning a Saab 900 is the automotive equivalent of keeping a neck tattoo into middle age.